He is the CCO of local property developer Nakheel, joining us on the line from Dubai for an exclusive interview. And Aqil, thank you so much for joining us to unpack some of these trends, because what worries me is that Dubai's property market was already reaching crisis point before the pandemic, and this new sales data really paints a worrying trend, down almost 60% in terms of sales in the second quarter. How is the industry responding?
Good morning, guys, and thank you for having me. Yes, absolutely. I mean, these are unprecedented times. Now, if we look at maybe February onwards with the impact of COVID-19 on the market, the good thing is the government's response was quite early to COVID-19, and I'd say it was quite impressive in terms of limiting the spread and keeping people safe and getting businesses and activity back in action. But, you know, despite these circumstances, we have witnessed impressive levels of real estate activity in the last few months. I think you mentioned the Q2 numbers. I recall Q1 was a 16% rise year on year. The DLE, which maintains the local register for property transactions, reported more than 32.5 billion dirhams in sales in the first half of this year through 16,000 transactions. Now, that's quite an active performance. As far as Nakheel is concerned, we ourselves have sold more than 800 million dirhams worth of properties since March, and that's including during the height of the pandemic. And this really highlights investors' trust and confidence in Dubai's real estate sector.
Aqil, what would you say are the prospects for a recovery, though? Because I remember sitting with Hassan Sejwani at Damak Properties at the SALT conference in Abu Dhabi last year, and he said, look, oversupply is a serious problem here. You have developers like yourself and others continuing to build, and when you drive through Dubai, it's construction site after construction site after construction site. 45,000 residential units set to come online this year alone. I put it to you that you're building too much and there's not enough demand. How do you respond?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you recall, later in 2019, there was a committee set up to manage the supply and demand, which you mentioned. And the focus for developers like ourselves has been actually to prioritize projects that generate value. And that's exactly what we're doing. By way of example, for instance, our upcoming projects for this year include the Riu Hotel and Resort in Dera Islands and the upcoming St. Regis Hotel on the Palm. The villas sales that I mentioned are matching new requirements from customers who want to upgrade into larger spaces. See, with this thing that we call the new normal, people are looking for more larger garden spaces, living spaces, you know, with home working and home schooling. So we've seen a shift in buying behavior, and people have actually started to make that decision to invest in a property that they probably held back in the previous years because of this change in buying behavior and so on and so forth.